All right, people, welcome back to the Best of Seven Sports Talk. Episode 136 is on the way. We got JJ Peters from the Sportstown Podcast with us tonight. We got a special show. We in preparation for game 2 of the NBA Finals. Boston Celtics are up on the Golden State Warriors 1-0. We're going to chop it up, kind of preview tonight's game. Also, we're going to tap into Adam Silver, considering shortening the NBA season from 82 games. We're going to talk about that. Athletes versus media. This should definitely be a hot topic that JJ and myself is going to tap in also in this episode of the Best of Seven. So salute to all the NBA Association fans and supporters. We're about to rock out. JJ Peters, Sportstown Podcast, is joining me. JJ, what's happening, brother?
Not much. Again, thanks for having me. Again, it's a pleasure to come on. Of course, I enjoyed game 1 of the finals. That was definitely epic, especially how well the Celtics played in the fourth quarter. They just could not miss. But I think this is definitely going to end up being a 7-game series. But again, thanks for having me on. I can't wait to talk some hoops. Absolutely,
man. Welcome back. Now, I think the last time you and I spoke, we were probably in the first round of the playoffs?
Something like that.
Maybe the second, you know what I'm saying? So I don't think we even spoke since the whole Eastern Conference Finals with Miami and Boston and, Luka versus Steph. Have you been overall, I would say, satisfied with the play of basketball we've gotten in the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times you can kind of predict who's going to be in by at least Series 1 or Series 2, but I did not see I thought, John Morant went down, and I thought if John Morant would have been healthy, the Grizzlies would have beaten the Warriors and at least made it to the Eastern Conference Finals or Western Conference Finals. But on the East side, I'm not really surprised necessarily. I mean, Boston has played very well. I thought, Brooklyn would give Boston would win at least one game in the first round there. But, I give credit, though, to Boston, how well they've been able to come, I think they had a losing record in December, and all of a sudden now they have a 1-game lead in the finals.
Yeah.
Of course, I thought the Bucks were going to win it all in the East, but they didn't. And I've been pretty impressed with how well it's been this year, especially in the playoffs.
Now, Giannis was a little bit shorthanded. Chris Middleton was out for the series. Do you still consider? I don't even know if you did in the first place, but do you still consider Giannis the best player in the world? Did his his stock go down any due to the loss in the playoffs to you?
I don't think it really went down, to be honest with you. Again, as you mentioned, Middleton's out. That's huge. Middleton's a great number 2. So I don't think his really stock went down. I definitely think he's up there. It's really tough to debate who the best player in the game is right now. A lot of people do say Giannis. Of course, Kawhi's still going to come back. We'll see what happens there. Yeah. Luka definitely put himself in there, at least in the top 5 after his run. I mean, they hit all the way to the Western Conference Finals, upset the Suns. But I think it's really tough to debate who number 1 is. But I don't think Giannis' stock went really that much. I don't think it went down at all, really.
You didn't mention LeBron James' name, JJ. I don't know if you're trying to take a shot. I don't know what's going on. You didn't mention Kevin Durant's name. That's fine. But you didn't mention LeBron James' name when we talk about best player in the world. Is LeBron completely out of the conversation to you going into year 20?
No, I don't think he is. I still think he's top 3, probably. I mean, I think he's top 3, probably. I mean, Durant is still in there, I think. I think you got to put Giannis, Durant, of course, LeBron, Kawhi, and I think probably Luka, to be honest with you there. But, I didn't even mention guys like Joel Embiid and Jokic. Jokic is back-to-back MVP. Embiid, of course, I think got robbed this year. But, we'll see what happens there. But, I mean, LeBron is still in there, top 3, top 5. KD, I think, is still in there. Of course, what he had to deal with this year with injuries. So I still think they're in there. Of course, LeBron didn't have as good as a year as he would have, but of course he was hurt most of the season. Or he was hurt some of the season. So I still think he's definitely in there for the top players in the league.
All right, guys, let's get into it, man. Let's talk about the first topic in today's show. Let's get into the first block, man. Game 2 going down this evening. The Golden State Warriors and the Boston Celtics. The Celtics made a comeback in the fourth quarter to steal game 1 and take home court advantage in this series. Now, JJ, on my last show, I'm feeling like Golden State does not respect the role players of the Boston Celtics. I think they have respect for Jason and Jalen. But when I listen to Draymond talk about how Marcus Smart, Al Horford, how those guys hit those threes in game 1, he gave me the impression like he was saying that like there's no way in the world they'll get hot again. And I feel like that's total disrespect.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the reasons why they lost. And this is one of the reasons why if Golden State doesn't even this series up tonight, I feel like it's over.
Mm-hmm. It could be. I mean, as you mentioned, the role players for Boston, I mean, they're so good. Of course, you have Al Horford, you have Marcus Smart, and you can't forget about how well Derek White performed in game one. I mean, he scored 21 points. So, and then, of course, they have other guys that come off the bench as well.
Williams,
so,
yep.
I do think that they're disrespecting him a little bit, but I don't know. I think Golden State's going to win tonight, or at least on Sunday night, to tie the series up, because I can't see them going down 2-0. If they go down 2-0, I can't really see this. I think the series could be over, to be honest with you. But yeah, you mentioned, like I said, if Golden State continues to disrespect the role players for Boston, they're in trouble, because, as you mentioned, the role players for Boston are so good, and that's a big reason why they win all the way this far. And Jason Tatum didn't even have that good of a game.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was the big thing to me. I was like, for all purposes, it looks like Golden State's assignment was to make sure someone else other than Jason Tatum beat him in game one. I thought Steph did a pretty good job defending Jason in the first quarter.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, man, respect is a huge thing in a 7-game series. And I know generally when a team is down 2-0, that's not a big deal. Even if they're not playing well, anything can happen in a 7-game series. But I just feel like the respect angle is going to carry it over, because Boston has the best defense, it looks like, in the league.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have that and a chip on your shoulder and you up 2-0, I don't see Boston losing that. So it is going to be real important for Golden State to start off hot early tonight and be able to finish this game.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is going to be the key to victory, JJ, for the Golden State Warriors tonight?
Well, they got to play all 4 quarters, first of all. I don't think they played well at all in the fourth quarter. And, of course, Boston could not miss, it seemed like, but they got to play all 4 quarters. Curry had a pretty solid game. He had 21 points in the first quarter, but he didn't quite have as well in the second half as he did in the first. Andrew Wiggins kind of felt like he kind of disappeared there in the fourth quarter. Klay Thompson has to be better. Jordan Poole has to be better. I just feel like they got to help out Curry just a little bit more, and they got to play all 4 quarters, I think, really. And of course, they can't disrespect Boston, especially from beyond the arc, especially with how well. And of course, you can't forget about Al Horford. He scores 26 points. So first, they got to play all 4 quarters, and they have to help out Curry a little bit more.
And not only is Al doing it on the offensive end, mm-hmm. he's doing it on the defensive end as well, as far as his presence. Like Al Horford, man, is playing some of his best basketball ever in his second stint with Boston. And you said it, like Steph Curry, 21 points in the first quarter. I think he set an NBA record for most threes in the finals in the first quarter of that game. He kind of, went, I don't want to say he went cold the rest of the game, but when you got a performance like that and you have Klay Thompson and Andrew Wiggins and the rest of these guys, y'all got to pick up the pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Like Steph gave y'all, the door to open and walk through it. You know what I'm saying? And once he did that in the first quarter, Boston, I think, was still only down by 4.
Mm-hmm.
I said, that's not going to be enough. Boston is going to possibly come back in this game if Golden State doesn't get any help. One of the biggest topics have been going into the finals, JJ, has been Steph Curry getting the finals MVP.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's a big deal when you look at his legacy? Do you think if he doesn't get it this year, if they win, let's say hypothetically Golden State wins and Steph doesn't get the MVP, does that hurt his legacy?
I think it does, really. I mean, he's definitely up there. If he goes up and if he ends up winning this championship, winning his 4th championship, he's definitely going to probably be considered in the top 10. But if he doesn't win that finals MVP, that would look really bad, because if you look at all of his championships, I think he won 2 with Durant, right? And of course, that was, Durant was the best player. So of course he was going to get the MVP. But if you go way back to 2015, he was the best player on that team and he didn't get finals MVP. And I think LeBron got more votes than he did. So, and especially with the Cavs, they didn't have Kyrie Irving or Kevin Love. So I think it looks
2015, right?
Yep. It looks really bad if Curry does it. If they win this championship and he doesn't win a finals MVP, that would, I think, tarnish his legacy just a bit. And I think he has to win the finals MVP, really.
I'm going to keep it real with you, JJ. I think I think they already got his name on the award. I think because this has been so much of a hot topic, I feel like they've already set up to give it to him as long as they win. As long as Golden State win, I don't see anyone having a heroic performance over 4 games to take that title from Steph. I think they're just going to automatically give it to him by default if they win. But if they win, it's going to be a tough one because Boston is for real. So do you have Golden State even in the series out tonight?
I think so. I mean, I think it just, I can't, I wouldn't be surprised if Boston wins tonight, but I can't really see Golden State losing because I feel like they were disappointed with how they performed in game 1 on Thursday night. So I think they're going to come back with some revenge. I think they're going to help out Curry just a little bit more. I think Jordan Poole is going to have a much better game. And, Andrew Wiggins kind of has been having a history of just kind of disappearing in the second half. I think he needs to play better, and I think he will. Draymond Green played well, but he didn't play well enough, I think. So I just can't see the Warriors losing tonight. But I wouldn't be surprised, but I think they're going to even up the series tonight.
What's your thoughts on Jason Tatum? Because I felt like he is a superstar in the making. He's had some big games in the postseason, but he's had some shaky looking performances in this playoffs.
Yeah.
A lot of turnover, especially in the Miami series. He didn't really play well in game 1. They really didn't need him, but I can't see him continuing to play like that and Boston being successful. Is he overrated to you? Is Jason Tatum overrated to you, or what do you think the issue is?
That's a really tough question because really, I mean, Jason Tatum is only 23 years old, right? And I don't know if he's necessarily overrated, but I do think if he ends up winning, if the Celtics go all the way and win the championship and beat the Warriors, he's probably going to get Finals MVP because I think he's going to play much better than he did in game 1. He might be a tad bit overrated, but I definitely think he's up there, especially with how well he had this year. Now, I'm not sure he deserved All NBA first team. I think they should have put Embiid and Jokic in there. But I think he might be a tad bit overrated. But I think if they win this series, he's probably going to, if he ends up getting Finals MVP,
it'll solidify his star quality. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think he's better than Jaylen Brown overall? Do you think Jason is the best Celtic?
Yeah, I think he is. Now, I think he's a little more gifted than Jaylen Brown is, but Jaylen Brown is still a solid player. I think Jaylen Brown is underrated, to be honest with you. And we kind of showed on Thursday night, right? So I think Jason Tatum is the best player, but I think Jaylen Brown's a great number 2. Might be one of the best number 2s in the league. Probably definitely top 5 or top 3, maybe even.
This series already, man, we've only went through 1 game, and I've just been surprised because we talked about Golden State's experience and their finals experience. They've been here so many times, and people talk about the lack of experience Boston has because no one on their roster has ever played in the finals. But they've shown me that there's multiple definitions of how you can define experience because what Boston went through this year alone, KD and Kyrie, the defending champions and Giannis, and what they went through versus Miami. That's experience right there. So Boston showed me that the experience thing that people were talking about, you can't necessarily give it to Golden State because Boston has went through some real time ups and downs in this postseason. Some people may feel Golden State kind of had a cakewalk because Ja was hurt, because Luka doesn't have any help. So I don't know, man. I have too much respect to say Golden State is not going to win tonight's game. So I will say I'll predict that they'll even it up. But like I said, JJ, if they lose tonight, to me, it's over. I just don't think they'll bounce back.
Yeah. It'd be hard for Golden State to be down 2-0 or down 2-0 and go into Boston and try to at least win 1 game without it's just going to be hard, I feel like, for Golden State to come back from 2-0, but I think they're going to win tonight. And I think every player for the Warriors, especially Jordan Poole and Draymond Green and Klay Thompson, they're going to have a better performance tonight. But if they end up losing, as you mentioned, it probably will be over.
It's going to be a crazy game, man. We definitely going to recap things and reviews. Should be a good game tonight. Next topic, man, here on the Best of 7, man. 7 Mitchell here, JJ Peters. Again, this is episode 136. Media versus athletes. Last week, we watched Kevin Durant have a back and forth with Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharp, Skip Bayless, saying that they're bad for the game. What's your thoughts on this media versus athlete disconnect that we have in sports? Is it a good thing? Like a lot of times athletes feel like if the media personalities haven't played the game. They really should be speaking on it. Like, what's your thoughts on that type of opinion? And does the media actually like this attention when the players are ripping them and, blasting, kicking back at them?
Well, first of all, I'm not sure exactly. Kevin Durant seems to be kind of a little bit, he's on Twitter. I know a lot, but I know a lot of times the media, Stephen A. Smith, especially Skip Bayless, Shannon Sharp, they have very strong opinions. And I'm not sure it's exactly good for the game, but it does give you a talking point to where you can kind of just say where there's something always in the news, right? But I could see really both sides being kind of wrong here because, Stephen A. Smith, I think, has a thing with Kevin Durant where he doesn't think Kevin Durant's as good as he really is. But the bottom line is Durant is top 5, probably maybe even top 3. And I think that, Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharp, Skip Bayless, they all have very strong opinions, but so does Durant, right? And I'm not sure it's exactly great for the game, but it does give you a great talking point, in my opinion. But,
it's wild because for me, I don't have a problem with those personalities in the media because I honestly don't look for the numbers and the stats from those guys. I get entertainment out of Shannon Sharp and his jokes, Skip Bayless and Stephen A. and they back and forth. I found the entertainment factor. I identify that I can watch the game with my own 2 eyes, or I can go on a website and check out the numbers. But there are people that's not really longtime fans of sports, and they watch these First Takes, Undisputed shows, and they hear these opinions, and they think that it's law. They think that it's, actually the case. And I think that's the point that Kevin Durant be trying to drive home. So I respect Kevin Durant for that because that is true. But me personally, I don't think those guys are bad for the game because I just identify them as something different.
And like I said, it just gives you a great talking point. I don't disagree with either Durant or players or the media exactly, but it gives you a great talking point, right? And it definitely is the topics they talk about too are very interesting, but like I said, it gives you a great talking point. But I'm kind of the same way. I don't really have a problem with either one, really.
Well, do you feel like you have to play the game or have played the game on some level in order to be an analyst?
I don't think so. I mean, Stephen A. Smith didn't really I think he might have played college or something like that, but I don't know necessarily you need to play the game right to be an analyst. But I do think analysts, especially analysts like Nick Wright, to be example, I think they get a bit, too, I think they get get a little bit too much, right? But
okay.
I don't necessarily think you need to be an athlete or be a former player, but I definitely think they need to hold up their opinions just a little bit. So
if you're one of those personalities that talk spicy, have a lot of hot takes and do a lot of shock value things as an analyst, you would prefer them to have some type of experience.
Some type, yeah. But, sometimes they bring up good points, right? But I think they need to, they go overboard just a bit.
Yeah, they definitely get extra because, ratings and that's
exactly
what, some of these networks ask for. So, I can agree with that, man. It just seems like, and I don't think the media should necessarily have to get along with the players and vice versa. It's never been that way. That's just a part of entertainment. You know what I'm saying? In all realms, musicians and media, movie stars, actors, actresses, in media, it's always kind of been a disconnect because everyone has a job and their own agenda, But I think it's still good for the fan base. I don't think that it's hurting the sport, but I do identify what Kevin Durant is talking about, how some of these guys do things, name calling and stuff like that. Russell Westbrook, and it gets a little bit extra, like you said, but I don't really have a big problem with it. So I appreciated you kind of breaking that down.
Yeah. And I think too, I think you need to have some type of experience, but at the same time, you need to kind of have, sometimes they bring up great points, right? But at the same time, I think they go overboard. But again, a lot of times it's just all for clicks, especially with ESPN and Fox, the top leader in sports, right? So right. I think again, it's great ratings, just clicks basically is what I think a lot boils down to.
JJ, how much impact would it be on LeBron's legacy if he doesn't make the playoffs again?
I mean, I think it kind of hurt his legacy this year when they didn't make the playoffs, but at the same time, all the injuries they had to deal with, and Anthony Davis wasn't the same. Of course, he was injured too. Russell Westbrook really struggled, and I think his prime is starting to go away from it. I don't think he's really in his prime anymore, but I think it will hurt it a little bit. But at the end of the day, I think LeBron is probably the third best player in the league of all time, outside of MJ and Kareem, right? And he's probably going to end up being the all-time leader in scoring because I think he just surpassed. I think he's number 2, right? He just surpassed Kareem. So. Or
he's about to. He surpassed Karl Malone.
Yep.
He's on his way to passing Kareem. But what I'm saying is, JJ, what if he misses the playoffs again?
I think it will hurt his legacy just a bit. But at the end of the day, we all know what LeBron is, right? I mean, he's got 4 championships. He's a 4-time Finals MVP, a 4-time league MVP. I think we all know what his legacy is, right? He's probably, in my opinion, at the end of the day, he's going to be the third greatest player of all time. But I don't know if it necessarily will really hurt his legacy a lot because, again, he's 37 now, and he's won a championship with 3 different franchises. So I think it will hurt it a little bit, but at the same time, we all know what LeBron is, right? He's one of the greatest players of all time, but in my opinion, the third best, the third greatest.
But if I'm not mistaken, JJ, you also said that you believe he's won his last championship, right?
I do think so. Yeah.
Oh God, I gotta talk to the bosses about this, JJ. I'm riding with my man LBJ, man, till the wheels fall off.
Mm-hmm.
But they definitely gonna need some help in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
With that. Last thing, man. Let's get into the block number 3. Adam Silver is considering shortening the NBA from 82 games to I don't know what. I guess because there's so many injuries in the last couple of years, how it has affected some people's projections on how the season should go or was going to go. What's your opinion on Adam Silver shortening the season? Do you think that's a good or a bad move?
It's probably a good move, to be honest with you, because it's been about a year and a half, right, when they only played 72 games because they were in Orlando earlier or before that. I think if they went to 72 games, that'd be great. And they already have the play-in tournament, right, where you're going to at least play 2 games. Or at least 1 or 2 games. So I think it's actually a good idea. I think they should start 2 on Christmas because you don't have to, because when the NBA starts, it's in October, right? And then you have to challenge 3 different sports. Now they definitely beat out baseball, but then you have to deal with football, right? So I think if they move to December, it gets them more attention. I think that's a better idea. I think players would probably rather play 72 games as well. I think it'd be a good idea. Now, I know I heard recently, this has been a few years now, but they were talking about having another tournament right in the middle of the season, something like that. But I think it'd be a good idea if they went from 82 to 72 games, started at Christmas, and they could go back with the finals back in July. I think that'd be a good idea.
I don't like it. JJ. I got to talk to the bosses about it because I don't like it. I do not want to see a situation where we get less basketball.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just love the game so much. I don't want to see less games. Now, if you can convince me, like you brought up the tournament mid-season, you brought up the play-in tournament as well. If you can convince me that they're going to implement some things that's going to mean more at the end of the year, then I wouldn't mind sacrificing some, regular season games. But if you want to cut the shit down, man, cut off some of them damn preseason games. Like, I just love the NBA even in the regular season. But if they do decide to take it down because of the injuries and, people pay good money to see some of these stars and superstars come out, and if they're not able to play, I get it. But if they're going to do that, you can't just take games away. I need something else to make it more exciting, so we're going to see how that play out. You mentioned Nikola Jokic winning his second MVP, back-to-back MVP. A lot of people felt like Joel got robbed. Do you think that Adam Silver and the NBA should change the format of the MVP voting to include the postseason and push it back? Or are you good with it, being a regular season award?
I think it should still stay as a regular season award because, the postseason MVP is basically the finals MVP. Maybe they should add another award to where, they have some type of just another award for the postseason, right? So for guys that like said Embiid, but I mean, I think I like the way it is now. They should maybe change it up a little bit, but you shouldn't add the postseason because, I think the postseason should be separate from the regular season. And I think it should probably just stay the way it is. Maybe they should change the voting a little bit, but I think it just should just stay the way it is because it is a regular season award at the end of the day. So
I'm going to play devil's advocate and tell you this is the reason why I feel like they should consider including postseason play.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the last 4 to 6 MVP winners, most valuable players of the league, not just the team, the most valuable players of the league for those seasons, all of those guys came up so short in the playoffs, early in the playoffs. Like when Giannis won his MVPs, they didn't win no rings. Giannis, we were talking about Giannis as a chokeout. Like he wasn't one of those guys. When he was winning the MVP in the regular season, Milwaukee came up short in the playoffs, right? Nikola Jokic. Now, I know they didn't have Murray this year, Jamal Murray, but he won MVPs last 2 years. Nikola, to me, I mean, he looked good in 2020 in the bubble, but the last 2 seasons, Nikola in Denver didn't make any real threat in the playoffs last year or this year. So that's the last 4 seasons MVPs, 2 for Giannis, 2 Nikola. I think James Harden won. Had James Harden and Russell Westbrook won it years before those 2 guys?
Yeah, back-to-back years.
Yeah, what did James Harden do that season? What did Russell Westbrook do in the playoffs that season? It just seems to me like we're giving this award premeditated, giving this award in the regular season. And then when the playoffs come, these guys don't look valuable at all because they're not doing nothing with their team. So I would like to see them push it back a little bit because, to be honest, if they did push it back, even though Philly didn't go further, to me, Joel played better in the postseason when it mattered than Nikola Jokic, and I would have definitely gave Joel the MVP this season because of that alone.
That's true. Yeah, Embiid did play a lot better than Jokic did, but you also have to remember too that Embiid, he does have James Harden, but James Harden didn't perform well. But if you look at Jokic's side of things, he didn't have Jamal Murray, he didn't have Michael Porter Jr. He was kind of all by himself a lot of times.
True.
But
that's true. But look at Luka. Look at Luka.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my thing. I'm like, if Nikola Jokic is doing something that no one has ever done before or no one is doing, then I'll give him props on it. But the same thing that he is doing, I've seen LeBron do it. We watching Luka carry these teams. I just like, if you're going to give him back-to-back MVPs, what's the real value in it when he can't get the team anywhere close to the promised land? So that's the only problem I have with that MVP format. So I don't know. They probably will keep it the same way, but I do got a problem with it. I'm not going to lie. I don't like it because, like I said, the last 4 to 6 MVP winners came up short each season in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I think Curry's the last time I think Curry's the last one to win a regular season MVP and actually win a championship. Isn't that correct, I think?
In 2015. Yep. Yep. And you don't have to win a championship, in order to satisfy my expectation of being a regular season MVP. But at least if you're the MVP of the league, you got to be at least threatened to take your team to the conference finals. You know what I'm saying? That season, like, bugs me out. But good discussion, man. Last thing I want to speak on real quick with you, just to get your thoughts, JJ. Kyrie Irving is urging the White House. This is kind of some WNBA, NBA thing, but Kyrie Irving is urging the White House to help Brittany Griner get released from Russia. Brittany has been detained since February on drug smuggling charges. What's your thoughts on Kyrie urging the White House to step in? And do you feel like the NBA should do more public presence to help in this situation? What's your thoughts on it?
To be honest, really, I'm not too sure. I know Brittany Griner's been in Russia for a while, and it is kind of just, I kind of wish she was back, but at the same time, I just don't know quite enough about it to really speak on it. Of course, I can see, Kyrie Irving's side, to be able to get her to come back, but I just don't know enough really of the whole situation. Like I said, I know I did a video about it too, that she's still in Russia. She was detained, but, I just don't know quite enough of the whole situation to really speak on it.
I respect that. I respect that 100%, man. It's just real crazy because I see a lot of comments and things from a lot of people, especially when on videos that I made on this topic. And people are like, she broke the law, let her ass rot. And I'm just like, I don't think no one is asking for clemency or for her to be, charges being thrown out of court. I think the important thing is to have her on American soil, and deal with this situation because, this is a different country, different time. The penalty is way different there than here, for something so petty.
Yeah.
So, JJ, I appreciate you, man, coming through, man. I can't wait for tonight's game. Hopefully we'll see if Golden State can even the series up. Please let everybody know where they can catch you in the Sportstown podcast at.
Yeah, so you can check out the Sportstown podcast pretty much wherever you listen to podcasts. It used to be a weekly thing. Now it's been kind of basically whenever I can get interviews and stuff like that. I'm making content on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram all the time, so go check that out. It's just the Sportstown podcast, so you could probably just look up Sportstown and probably be there. But I do kind of want to add one thing here. And we were talking earlier about maybe the NBA shortening up the season from 82 games to whatever. But if the NBA doesn't change up, just stays with 82 games, I think it'd be a good idea to start around Christmas and then end sometime in July. I understand, too, you'd have to probably play more back-to-back games and stuff, but it would be, I think, better for them to start sometime in December and then just end in July, kind of what they did last year. But I kind of understand, why, you don't want to play as many back-to-back games because that causes more injuries, but I think that would be something they should consider. But
now, what about December really is playoff time for the NFL, so that's the height of the competition.
Yeah,
you still agree that that's probably a good time because I think when they came back, I think that's when they a couple years ago the NBA started their season around December and it kind of worked. So that's a good point.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good idea too. And now again, you have to kind of wonder about the back-to-back, and you'd have to, more injuries. The one thing you're trying to prevent, but right. I just think it'd be a good consideration. And there's most of the time by December, there's a lot of football teams or a lot of NFL teams that are completely out, like the Jets, for example.
Right.
But I think it's something they should consider. But we'll see what happens because I would not be surprised if the NBA made some changes here pretty soon.
Gotta love this game, man. Unbelievable. All right, guys, we are out of here. Episode 136 of the Best of Seven is in the books. Enjoy game 2 tonight. Make sure y'all check out the Sportstown podcast everywhere on social media. JJ, my brother, once again, I appreciate you coming through. We'll chop it up again, no doubt, before the season is actually over.
All right, again, thanks for having me on, and enjoy game 2.
Absolutely. Stay safe, everybody. All right, man. Peace to my NBA family. It's your host, Siver Mitchell, with the Best of Seven Sports Talk. I just wanted to take this time out to say thank you to each and every one of you guys for so much support for the podcast. I hope you guys are really enjoying some of the outside-the-box angles we take, bringing you in these NBA storylines. Please don't forget to like and share. Most importantly, rate the podcast. You can follow us on social media. All the links will be in the description. And if you would like to contribute to the Best of Seven Sports Talk platform, we have merchandise available, as well as links for the merch, and donations will be all in the description. Once again, thank each and every one of you guys in the NBA community for supporting the show. This is Siver Mitchell with the Best of Seven Sports Talk. Let's talk some NBA action.